Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday. It's Friday, which means just one thing. It's
Friday quiz.
I just pulled that in right at the last minute. I just thought, I just want to go right there. I want to feel a bit of nostalgia. We've got to that point with this, guys, where we're getting nostalgic about ourselves. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Morning, Margaret O'Brien, Ellery Jones. Morning on podcast if you're listening. It's Friday. Thank fuck it's Friday. Or hashtag fuck off Friday. Who's going to have hashtag fun in the sun tonight on Friday? Who's having Friday fun? Anyone having Friday fun? Is anyone going to be posting hashtag Friday fun? Do people just still do that? Or are things now so meta that people just know that it's a load of old bullshit? Morning, Sean Tucker, Lynn Sheard, Siobhan Jordan, Jackie Smith, Ellie C. Just love seeing all your names, MeTube. Obviously, I hope Faith is in the room, although we don't just do it for Faith, but Faith is a particular fan of the Friday quiz. That'll be coming at the end, where you can sharpen your pencils. Who has a pencil sharpener? When was that? Okay, here's a question. Killer question of the Friday morning. When did you last use a pencil sharpener? Chin chin, down the hatch, and all the rest of it. I'm going to Specsavers and also X-ray appointment. Ellery Jones, Ellery. Saab Turbo's got a cold. Hi, Claire Smiley. Hope you're well, sweetie. Sending you love. No one. I think the last time, in fact, I don't. You're right there, Chi-Chi. The last 42 years ago, when did you listeners on podcasts, when did you last use a pencil sharpener? And I don't mean the pencil sharpener euphemism. What is the pencil sharpener euphemism? I've always taken to, I don't know what happens to me, whenever the kids always needed a pencil sharpened, some kind of Neanderthal primal kind of aspect kicked in. Sarah Smithard. I home educate, my boys are always sharpening. That speaks to what I'm about to tell you. So the girls would need a pencil. We were homeschooling. I would go and find the sharpest knife and I would hack at the end of a pencil, because for me, a chunky ended pencil was better sometimes than a beautifully conical sharpened pencil. Don't quite know why we're on this, but there we go. Oh, wow, DK1612. My dad used to use a kitchen knife. It's a curious little kind of quirk, this, isn't it? Yesterday, sharpened my eyebrow pencil, Sarah J66. Wow, eyebrow pencils. They're part of that strange, mysterious netherworld for men. What is that? It sits alongside that sort of medieval torture implement that crimps the eyelashes. My art teacher used to use a penknife. Isn't this weird? I think it's because one can get a different kind of sort of leaded jag to it. I don't know what that was. That was sort of like a pencil surge. Okay, what are we talking about? We're going to be talking about, unfortunately, Israel just can't help themselves, can they? If no one can get on board with the fact that Israel are killing lots and lots of innocent people because what they say, America, Blinken especially, it's all Hamas's fault and it's because of Hamas and Hamas are there, it's all Hamas. It's everyone other than Israel. It's like having a temperamental a toddler, not a teenager, a temperamental toddler at nursery. You walk in, you see them smashing everyone in the playground. You walk straight up to the teacher and say, it's everyone else's fault. It's everyone else's fault. And it's especially that little boy over there in the corner's fault because he's next to the other guy over there that my little boy, Tarquin, has issues with. So anyway, so Israel, so here's the thing. Here's a tip. Top tip for those of you who are like, I think it's all a little bit sort of overboard what everyone's saying about Israel. Here's the thing. Just keep watching what they're doing in Lebanon and it will begin to be revealed to you just what a moral or amoral or immoral army they are. Yep, they've been caught taking shots at United Nations peacekeepers. Oh, how funny. They've also killed journalists. Oh, how funny. They've also killed medics. Oh, and aid workers. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about someone called Young Philly. This landed badly last night. This is does anyone know? I didn't even know who Young Philly was. That's terrible. YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. He's a YouTuber. Also a TV presenter, as I understand it. Young Philly, major YouTuber, sort of social media fan star. He's been charged with rape and sexual assault in Australia. look serious. And yeah, that's a lot of people very shook about that. Do you know who young Philly is? Miranda Hart. Does anyone remember Miranda Hart? Can't say we were a fan, and I'm not going to pretend that I was. I didn't. Her brand of humor and her sitcom never floated my boat, but she floated a lot of people's boats, and she's in the press because I think she's got a book out, but she's also talking about Lyme disease, which is something that's it just struck me as, wow, when you look into what Lyme disease can do and how it can affect you, and how it's affected Miranda Hart, she's been very ill for years. Wow, God almighty, be careful with those ticks. We're also going to be talking about how you could potentially avoid smartphone theft, though it looks like I don't think I've actually pulled that story up. So, oh no, I have. Yep, I have. Okay. And to be honest with you, smartphone theft is just going nuts. We know people very close to us have had this happen, and it can happen in both violent ways, but it can also happen in an incredibly swift, sudden, brazen snatching. So there are some tips that an article out is kind of giving people. Faith Goodman, we are doing the quiz of the week. It's amazing to see Miranda Hart raising awareness for her ME, which was caused by her Lyme disease, says Sean Tucker. As it's a condition I have myself, and it's so misunderstood. Well, when we get to that, Sean, I'd like you to share with us just some of the details of it. What don't we know about that? MeTube says, I have a hurricane control machine for sale. If anyone is interested, used only once. Did you control Hurricane Milton? A few people felt I was being perhaps a bit lighthearted about an incoming disaster. I wasn't at all suggesting that what happened with Hurricane Milton or any natural disaster isn't serious. It is. Sometimes a gallows sense of humor is merely a way of coping with an inevitability of horror. But first thing I want to do is I just want to show you this. Did anyone see the Northern Lights last night? Apparently they were quite something. I'm going to show you some footage that the Sun has published. This is sped up, obviously, otherwise we're also being invaded by UFOs. I presume that's a satellite or an airplane, but check this out. Taken over Danbury in Essex before we move to Cambridge. Oh, wow, Ali C. They were amazing here in East Lothian. Oh, wow, me too. If you haven't seen the video of the MAGA lady who believes US government created the hurricane, worth checking out. Look at this over Cambridge. I stress this has been sped up. I must admit, I had a little kind of childhood kind of dream destroyed, really. I now realize that every time I've seen amazing, wondrous footage, well, I've once seen the Northern Lights out of a chalet in Norway. And I have to confess, whilst it didn't move this fast, there was movement. Fake alien invasion incoming soon, Jenny J. Why would it be a fake alien invasion, Jenny J? Do you not think it might be a real alien invasion? I'm just curious. I'm not picking on what you said. I'm just thinking, what would a fake alien invasion be? Would it be someone throwing a badly made UFO in your garden? Hey, we've landed. I don't know. Gorgeous, hey? They really are gorgeous. And there's a whole heap of wondrous images. Look at some of these photos that were taken across the country. These are really beautiful. I feel like we really missed out. But London, we have so much light pollution. You might see a colour in the sky, but you think that could be something in Crystal Palace. It might be the neighbour who's farted loudly and it's lit a fart and it's just ignited the night sky. Look at that, beautiful, isn't it? Again, I'm presuming these are kind of quite long exposures, but yeah. So Wales had some hope. Minky Moo, I'll always find this line from Miranda's mum funny. Oh, okay. Well, the last time you went out that late was when you forgot to put the bins out. Minky Moo, I love that. It's about Miranda Hart. We're going to be talking about it in a bit. Maybe I just never got her. Maybe her humour appealed to I don't know, a different gender, a different era, a different age. I don't know. Okay, Middle East. I just want to briefly talk about this because it is awful what's going on. This is Israel are literally being given cloud cover. We're all waiting for Israel's response to Iran. We're all watching Israel encroach increasingly on Lebanon. We're watching them start to bomb Damascus and Syria. We're seeing and hearing more and more innocent people dying. But now, instead of saying Hamas were near to these civilians, it's Hezbollah. This justifies everything. Everything is justified. I tell you what really struck me today on the radio. I was listening to this guy. A lot of people are like, well, the danger of this is that international law, the rules based sort of running of the world will go out the window. Many would argue that's already gone out the window. You look at Russia, you look at Ukraine, you look at China, you look at America. I think the thing here is no one, certainly we're not, when we're talking about putting a spotlight on Israel's behavior, and at the moment, I particularly think on America's behavior, they're the enablers. I mean, they are the enablers, and Israel is the tyrannical toddler just rampaging around the enclosed playground of the Middle East, just smashing everything in sight, and kind of blaming it all on anyone who kind of tries to stick one back to them. Now, the problem with all of this is no one is better than anyone else, but it's this really crass, superior, supercilious assumption that America is different, Israel is different, and that everyone else is wrong. And also the other thing is, I keep seeing all of our fucking Labour ministers coming out and talking about Taylor Swift tickets, talking about boring shit, and not one of them has commented. I haven't seen a single comment on the complexities and what they think about Israel's aggression in Lebanon. Okay, so let's just even if for some reason people can't get on board with the Gazan thing, then get on board with the Lebanon thing. But there's a total conspiracy of silence, And in the news at the moment, Middle East crisis, as there is a call for a United Nations inquiry after a fresh Israeli attack on peacekeepers in Lebanon. None of the mainstream press will call this, though Dina says the BBC have been on it a little bit more today. Human Rights Watch has called for a UN inquiry into Israeli attacks on UN peacekeeping forces in Lebanon. Reuters this morning also reported, it was what they call a snap report. This was 2 hours ago at 8:47. That a UN source also said that Israel have fired yet again on a United Nations observation post in southern Lebanon, injuring 2 people. Israel's strategy is to remove journalism and is to remove any peacekeeping troops or presence in Lebanon. Why? It's a simple reason. Why? Because they don't want anyone to actually see what they're up to. And yet we're supposed to trust, even though we're not allowed to, because all the journalists have been killed in Gaza, no journalists are allowed into Gaza, no journalists are allowed into the West Bank. We're supposed to trust, according to the American government, everything the Israeli army says. I think Netanyahu's favorite character is Pinocchio. It's ridiculous. And I just think the new era that we're pushing into is that we've and this is something that I find chilling. What we've baked into our kind of culture now and the conversation after a year of this, and this is what happens when such brutality is witnessed on social media principally, because that's the only place that these people can get it out and you can get access to it, or broadcasters in the region such as Al Jazeera get this material out. The mainstream media in the West, it's a bit too much for us colonial types. My God, they don't want to be looking at brown people being torn to pieces and incinerated. Absolutely not. What do you mean? They attacked the only so-called democracy in the Middle East. My God, well, then we must be quite angry about that. Such supercilious hypocrisy. They've so normalized, Israel have so normalized the brutalizing and brutal treatment of people, bodies, humans, communities, families. Something like 902 entire families have been removed from the Gazan registry, i.e., what that means is there are no living survivors of 902 families. That is ethnic cleansing. That is genocide. That is the elimination of families and incrementally a race or a culture or a people. But what we've done in this is, there's China saying this is wrong. There's Russia saying this is wrong. They've both got egregious human rights atrocities, in their books. America and Britain and Israel keep this. What we're seeing here is the way in which we try and put a pretty bow on our murder. We try and put a pretty bow on a justification on our footprint that kills innocent people, whereas everyone else is driven by just malevolent intention. And what is happening, I think, and this is the most chilling development and aspect of all of this, is is that we've allowed and moved towards an acceptance or a tolerance even, because we can rationalize it. The press will rationalize it, of hitting schools, of hitting hospitals, of hitting civilians. Now, I tell you when that will become really horrible for us to tolerate. When and if there is a world war, and when and if the conflict reaches our shores, and we're wondering, why are they hitting schools? Why are they hitting hospitals? We'll have no recourse. We'll not be able to say, excuse me, sir, you've just hit a school. And they'll be like, well, what the fuck? Or whoever they are, whatever's happened, wherever it comes from, it'll be like, well, what do you mean? You said nothing and you did nothing for it when it was someone else. This is why it matters. This is why a moral attitude and humanitarian law and international humanitarian law matters. And this is why it's so exceedingly unforgivable that our prime minister, even more than Trump and Biden to a degree, our prime minister is a humanitarian lawyer. He knows legally, despite having familiarly connections with Israel and financially connections with Israel, he knows what the international legal humanitarian law is around Israel being an occupying force in an occupied territory. Did you know that legally, if you are an occupier, you do not have a so-called right to self-defense because you're not defending anything, you're occupying something. These kind of what seem like nuanced details, our prime minister knows and should know. And if he doesn't know, then he's as shit as he seems to be.
Because he doesn't seem to know very much. All he needs to know is that change is something that people need to get on board with. Taylor Swift is fantastic. The Arsenal of up the Gunners, up the Gunners.
Telling you now, we said it before. Do you remember about 8, 7, 9 months ago, we said this will spiral into something much bigger that does affect us, when people were saying in this election, well, let's talk about domestic matters. This isn't really on our doorstep. Well, Iran and Israel, nuclear kind of standoff potentially, it's on our doorstep. It's at our door. It might be all the way over there in the world at the moment, but it's at our door. And if it's not at our door, literally with a missile coming through the front door, it's at our door morally. It's at our door in a humanitarian fashion. And if we ignore it and we choose to ignore it, we are the appeasers. We are the enablers. If you are silent on this, I genuinely believe, if you are silent on this and then seek to justify what Israel is doing and has done for years, you are an enabler of this problem. I think it's unforgivable. Trump is an absolutely marauding idiot. I wouldn't expect him to know a nuanced detail of anything anyway. I'm amazed he doesn't. He doesn't even know where Michigan is, really. But Keir Starmer, of all the leaders out there, actually, of all the leaders, he is the one for whom this is the most unforgivable blind spot in his moral fiber. Where he should know this, he should see this. I also said the other day, look at the plight of I'll move on in a minute. It's Friday. Hashtag fuck off Friday. Look at the plight of Jordan. Jordan, the country, are trapped because they are dependent on American money. They have an enormous Palestinian population due to the displacement of over 3 to 4 million Palestinians and the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people from Syria. So Jordan is an enormous refugee camp that functions for America, that takes the overspill from these other conflicts. Jordan is one of those countries that at some point, due to the pressure of their population, due to the pressure of so many people in their country saying, hang on a minute, you can't just be in the pocket of America, because they're resource poor, they are dependent, as I say, on American finance. At some point, countries like Jordan in that area will go, hang on a minute, I don't know if America has got our best interests at heart. This is a racketeering situation. They're only paying us so that we are essentially keeping putting our finger in the hole in the dam. And at some point, these countries will go, do you know what? Maybe we should talk to China. Maybe we should talk to Russia. Now, because we've characterized Russia and China as just evil, 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 the baddies in the Hollywood film, What is that? No, Jordan. Lots of people are making really desperate choices, and we're forcing them to make desperate choices. A bit like the Israelis have forced Palestinians over years to make awful choices. No Gazan wants to become radicalized, become a member of Hamas, and then threaten to kill people and then die potentially. Not at birth. No human would want to do that. They've been taken there. They've got there. Israel would have you think they're radicalized from within Gaza. Israel radicalizes everyone through its offensive and oppressive regime and the destruction that you've seen in Gaza. So yeah, Jordan and Syria will side with Iran if push comes to shove. Why would they side with America? So we're going to lose some of those, those so-called allies. I mean, the thing about this whole conflict is what you have to do is you have to take all the countries of the world and you talk about allies, throw the whole fucking kit and caboodle in the air because none of it means anything. We're as bad as them. They're as bad as us. No one is saying, my granddad always used to say to my mum, well, if you like Russia so much, head off to Russia, die. It's not about that. It's just about the pretense that they're worse than us. We might do it with a cup of tea and a bourbon. They might do it with a vodka and some schnapps. Anyway, so yeah, Israel are attacking and shooting at United Nations peacekeepers. That's as simple as it is. Are we all right with that? Are we all right getting on board with Israel not being given cloud cover by America and our Prime Minister saying nothing publicly about the fact that Israel have shot at and are shooting at peacekeepers in Lebanon? Outrageous, absolutely outrageous. Okay, moving on quickly. Moving on to young Philly. Who is anyone here young Philly? Someone said the youngsters love him. I'm just going to pop up a couple of pictures of him. This is young Philly. He's just recently been doing food films, I think, with the England football team or the England team for Marks and Spencer's. He'll be very well known to lots of youngsters. I know that our girls and their friends are so disappointed. This is his YouTube channel, Young Philly. Well, he's been in... never heard of him. Is he another... No, he's not another Tate. I think he's presented shows on BBC Three. He's a youth, a sort of youth ambassador and presenter. But anyway, so he's a rapper as well, YouTube star, has been arrested and charged with rape in Australia. He's appeared in Perth magistrates, charged with 3 counts of assault, occasioning bodily harm, and 4 counts of rape without consent. He's been charged with 1 count of impeding another person's breathing. He's on tour in Australia at the moment. He was arrested in Brisbane. His application for bail was opposed. There's been photos of the woman's injuries apparently shown to the prosecution, and they said no an ordinary person can consent in these circumstances. He hasn't commented on it. But again, it's just... the reaction to the accusations in comment sections is so misogynistic. Oh, really, Nicky Ball? So what, people just leaping to his defense? Now, of course, you can't, innocent until proven guilty, but it's unusual for such charges to move with such rapidity and such evidence to be talked about so publicly. So I feel there's a distinct sense here that this is what it is. And if there is and you're right. I mean, I'm guessing, someone just said, is he another Tate? I don't think consciously he is, but I'm sure his current situation will encourage the trolling and nonsense on social media of potato head fans. But yeah, no, incredibly serious accusations. And of course, this has ramifications because I think it's at the England. Oh, my light's just gone out. Sorry. Football Association is set to pull a new cookery show that features young Philly alongside England players. Oh, what's that? That's weird. Where did that come from? I think that must have been on that webpage. So yes, there's been a lot of talk around him lately, not being not a very nice person, really, Jordan Stevenson. Well, yeah, his track record. Okay, yes. Reese Roberts, unfortunately, his track record with inappropriate behaviour is quite... God, it's like Maddie said, it's such a shame, isn't it? I mean, the biggest. Don't get me wrong. That sounds like it's like I'm being belittling. I mean, the absolute trauma here for the fucking victims. That's the first thought. How awful. Isn't it a shame that these men always get into a position of power and then just exploit it? It's just awful. No, I haven't seen any updates on Diddy, other than I know that he sought to be bailed again and he hasn't been, and there were images or court artists' portraits of him in court with his mum behind him. He's bringing his mum to court now. Yeah, he does work with the BBC and ITV. So yeah, very, very, very disappointing news there. Very young filly. Okay, let's talk about Miranda Hart. Who is Miranda Hart, for those of you who don't know? This is Miranda Hart. She's been off our tellies for years. She used to have a very successful TV series called Miranda. She sort of played... She was sort of like a self-deprecating, through herself... Oh, that's not her, obviously. A self-deprecating kind of comic actress who was always kind of like a bit clumsy, looking for love. I think the reason she captured people's hearts and minds was she was always throwing herself essentially under the bus. I just found it all. I never got on with it too much, but you know, everyone has different tastes, don't they? It wasn't aimed at people like me, probably anyway. But anyway, so she's published a book. Her show used to. I didn't realize this. Her show, I think, at its peak, Miranda would be watched by 12 million. I mean, the halcyon days of television back in the day, 12 million viewers. That's a lot, isn't it? You're lucky if you get like a couple of million. So she's been away. She's written a book. I think she's got married, but she's also talking about the fact that she's been very ill. And she's had ME. She's been unable to come out. A lot of people, I know someone very close to us who has ME. Not entirely, no one's entirely certain what causes it. There are many different causes. But she's connected her condition to Lyme disease. And the next image I was showing you was not her thigh, but this is the kind of bite you get from one of these critters, which is a tick. Ticks that carry Lyme disease. Now, there are all of the kind of physical kind of ailments around Lyme disease, but there's also the fact that it can contribute to some really quite sinister and awful mental health conditions. I went on a sort of deep dive to find out some of the conditions. She's written a book called I Haven't Been Entirely Honest With You. And she's talked about 10 keys. Lyme disease is a bacterial infection which can lead to severe physical and mental problems if not diagnosed early. It's typically spread to humans via infected ticks, which will have already been bitten and infected by an infected animal, such as a deer, mouse, vole, or hedgehog. Other insects also carry the disease. She says that when she was diagnosed, it was a huge relief. She said that it was so frustrating being misunderstood. And misunderstood is a key part of this, because I think Lyme disease can lead to some pretty awful, it can aggravate and present. I found a piece here in a sort of health journal about how Lyme disease gets often misdiagnosed as depression, bipolar, or even in extreme cases, schizophrenia. It can mimic, it doesn't literally mimic, but the conditions that you're in, or the feelings, the lack of sleep, the mental disorientation, the hallucinatory aspect, they can, having Lyme disease, you can present to a doctor or to a psychiatrist as having bipolar, schizophrenia, or extreme depression. Has anyone here ever, I know I get so scared of ticks. I'm only saying this, it's quite rude, but I'm only saying it because my one experience as someone, I found a tick on me. I can't remember ever being bitten by a tick. I think I did when I was younger. It's become more and more common, hasn't it, Lyme disease? I'll read some of your comments in a moment. I remember climbing a Munro mountain with some friends. And Little Pete, as we called him, he was kind of having a shower, and we'd been camping and we'd been out, and we sort of went in, and he said he was scrubbing, I hate to say it, he was scrubbing his balls, and he said he noticed something that felt like another bollock. And whilst he was down there, he noticed that it was the engorged head of a tick. Now, he didn't go on to get Lyme disease, but ticks, they crawl onto your body from long grass often, and they will find their way to like an armpit or to your crutch or to behind an ear, somewhere that's dark and dank. You do need to check dogs for ticks. We found one on Toffee about a year and a half ago. Those bullseye bites are painful, Anna Marie Shellard. Never had Lyme disease, but had a horsefly bite, and I was ill for weeks. Horseflies, wow, yes, that's a thing from the past. If bitten by a tick, you need to be treated as quickly as possible with antibiotics, says Hilary Daly. Mo Power, Lyme disease and fibromyalgia present quite similarly. Did I see Michelle Nye there? Where are you, sweetie? I saw you talking about the fact that you have Emmy. God, you've flown up here. Where have you gone? Oh, I've lost you. I've lost you, sweetie. I saw your name come up. Maybe pop your comment again. Lucy Williams, I read Miranda's first book and honestly couldn't put it down. Every single page has something to make the reader laugh. Seems like a lovely, relatable, sweet lady. Nikki Bull, I'm so scared of ticks, out every day walking the dog, so totally paranoid about them. Yes, absolutely right, Laura Lou. The most common place for a kid to get a tick is their head because they roll around in the grass. No, you're right, or behind the ear, or something like that. Michelle Manning, a friend of mine, has Lyme disease. She's had a tough few years, but doing better now, thankfully. My daughter, Angela Thompson, has suffered with ME. At one point, she was in a wheelchair. She lives with the chronic fatigue and nerve pain in her whole body. Going to Newcastle Hospital, she has a monthly ME nurse. Trying to find... Michelle, I can't find your comment. If you pop it up again. Dawny Harvey, I have ME, CFS. It's so frustrating. You feel like life is passing you by. Carla Hatcham, how are you, Carla? Very common now, unfortunately. I hate ticks. We get loads here on horseflies. I mean, I must admit, it's like even gardening. You know, you wonder, you wade through. I found something. Yes, Michelle Nye. I was saying I have ME, which is so misunderstood. It absolutely is. It really is. I think people want to sort of pretend. Well, I mean, you know, there's always been this idea that it's not a thing. But I mean, it's interesting that ME is, you know, more and more people really are getting on board with the idea that this is a condition that can be maybe triggered or is a kind of conflagration of other kind of issues, which is, I mean, and I know someone very close to us whose life has been absolutely destroyed or, you know, impeded by ME. I'm just going to have a drink of coffee. Sorry. Opossums are able to eat the ticks and be immune, says Mopower. Right, so we all need to get on Amazon. Can you get an opossum on Amazon? I can't speak. Right, okay, moving on. So, did I show you the tick? Oh, get rid of it. Oh, it's too much. I'm not going to show you what arrived in a sheen. Is it sheen? Shine? What's a? No, I'm not going to show you that. I can't even remember. I can't even work out what that was. Yes, I can. Okay. Breakdancing. Look at that. Do you remember her? Should we just, for old time's sake, remember this lady breakdancing? Let's check this out. This is commentators talking about it. This is the Australian breakdancer.
This is what she comes out and does. Now we could.
She did hop like a kangaroo. It's something else, isn't it? Well, why have I played you that? You're all asking. Why the hell is he playing that? Well, because breakdancers have been told that too many head spins could give you something called cone head. British Medical Journal case has reported the potential overuse injury after a man in his 30s has surgery to remove a large lump on his head. Breakdancing's extreme physical demands mean it's known to involve a high risk of injury, can cause hair loss, sprains in the neck, and damage to almost every part of the anatomy. Spinning on your heads means you can develop a sizable protrusion on the top of your head, resulting in something called cone head. So you essentially get a lump that kind of goes like that. So the next time you want to do a head spin, be warned, you could be getting into all sorts of trouble. Just quickly, because I said we would, anyone with smartphones, here's a sort of a top 10 list of what you should do if you don't want to get your phone snatched. Rethink your commute, change your journey. Now, on this, what happens mostly in London is unfortunately, it's usually women. And it's because I presume the robbers think they're going to put up less of a fight. You often say, because of cordless headphones now, fewer and fewer phones are actually attached even by headphone leads. But it will be at bus stops. I've seen it happen countless times in central London where you'll see someone, or you're aware that someone at a bus stop was maybe on their phone, someone on a bicycle or on a scooter swipes past, or on an e-scooter, and just grabs it off you. I remember seeing a couple of women had their ears really kind of ripped when they were listening with corded earphones. It happened on Oxford Street a couple of times. So do be careful. Do be careful when you're out and about. I mean, there's not a lot you can do if you're stopped by a gang who then say, what have you got? But some of the tips are: rethink your commute. Is there any other journey you can do that puts you at less risk? Simple things like literally try not to walk with your phone out too much. And if you do, if you're walking along a road, have the phone in the hand that's furthest away from the curb. So if you're walking along the road and the road is on your right, maybe walk further to the left with your hand to the left. If you've got to be on your phone, be using it further away, because if your hand is out, then of course they can just ride by and swoop it away from you. Oh, let me just get that. 1 second. Oh. Quiz coming. Where was I? Has anyone here, how do they bypass the fingerprint login? Well, what usually happens is if they can grab it off you whilst you're in, they'll just keep it activated. And then they can hack into it. That's one of the other problems. I mean, often young boys, unfortunately, when they're stopped in the street by gangs, by groups, they'll be told to give them their login. No, that's how it works. So yeah, if you really must get your phone out, go into a cafe or shop. It's a good tip. Always go in. Don't use your phone on the street if you have to. Stop wearing headphones when you're out and about. Or if you do, have just one in. Change your relationship with your device. Keep your phone in a discreet pocket. 6 things you must do now to stop thieves getting access to your data, even if it's stolen. Activate biometric security features like fingerprint. Though, as I say, if they steal it at the point that you're in it, it's difficult. Also use Find My. You can select your device to see its location on a map. You can then at least find out where it is. Contact your mobile phone service provider immediately to suspend the service. Go on to another device, e.g. Google Chrome, Google account. Follow the on-screen instructions to remove access to your Google account and any connected apps on your device. So, there are many things you can do. It's another top tip for if you are a parent or if you know teenage boys. This is an odd one. I would recommend to your kids, to your boys, this is something that we know someone's doing. Take a really old, bashed up secondhand phone that is maybe broken or doesn't work, or maybe a really old iPhone. And so when and if you're approached in the street, you can sort of like pull it out and go, this is all I've got. And you can say the battery's dead. And then you give it to them. And then hopefully it might just protect you from having to hand over the one you've got. But anyway, okay, on that note, it's Quiz of the Week.
Friday quiz.
Okay, let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. Are you ready for it? Are you wanting to feel like a winner? Let's do this, baby. Come on, baby, one more time. No, that's not right, is it? Okay, let me just find it. Where are we? Here we go. No, that's not right. Oh, here it is. Got it. Okay, question 1 in the Quiz of the Week. Hope you're ready, Faith. I'm expecting good things from all of you, okay? I want you all to do well, and I want you all to concentrate, okay? A couple of stories here already I can see that we were going to do and we haven't done this week, i.e. Wagatha Christie. I mean, can you believe this? Okay, so here we go. You ready? Right. It's the Wagatha Christie legal battle resumed for Colleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy as they met at the High Court to argue about legal costs. Happy birthday, Catherine. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Catherine. Happy birthday to you. How much did Mrs. Rooney claim the case had cost her? Was it A, 540,000, B, 1.6 million, or C, 1.8 million? Wow. The Wagatha Christie legal battle resumed as barristers for Colleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy met at the High Court to argue legal costs. How much did Mrs. Rooney claim the case had cost her? A, 540,000, B, 1.6 million, C, 1.8 million. I just want to pop this up again because it's just, I don't know why, there's just, at that point, at that moment, she thought, I'm so fucking good. I didn't like the way they said she had some kind of silly degree. I don't like that. You don't know the importance of a degree like that. You just don't. The answer is C, 1.8 million. Question 2. Joe Root overtook Sir Alastair Cook to become the leading run scorer in English Test cricket history. Against which team has he scored most runs? Is it A, Australia, B, India, or C, Pakistan? I just got this right. Yeah, me too. I admire her for giving it a go. I mean, how she got in, I don't know. But yeah, I do too. I mean, she threw herself around a bit. You sure the picture's not just turned upside down? Hey, what, like Batman? Do you remember the old series of Batman where they used to be walking up the wall? And they just shot it on the side. I thought it was so funny. Was it A, Australia, B, India, or C, Pakistan? It was B, India. Question 3. South Korean author Han Kang won the Nobel Prize for Literature. She's the 18th woman to win the award. Who was the last to do so? A, Margaret Atwood, B, Annie Ernaux, or C, Alice Munro? Who was the last woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature? A, Margaret Atwood, B, Annie Ernaux, and that's spelled E-R-N-A-U-X, or C, Alice Munro? That's a bit of a cultural one for all of us there to go into the weekend with, isn't it? It's B, Annie Ernaux. Question 4. Europe's space agency ESA launched a spacecraft to investigate what happened to a space rock that NASA attempted to knock off course in 2022. After which Greek god is the spacecraft named? Is it A, Artemis, B, Demeter, or C, Hera? Hera. Is it A, Artemis, B, Demeter, or C, Hera? Hera. You say Hera, I say Hera, I say Hera, you say Hera, Demeter, let's call the whole thing off. The answer is Hera. C is the answer. Question 5. Line judges will be replaced with technology at the Wimbledon Tennis Championship from 2025. The All England Club announced, which is the only Grand Slam tournament to still use humans for line calling. The reason I'm disappointed that they're not going to have line judges is the only thing I used to enjoy about watching Wimbledon as a kid when my nan used to watch it, and I'd have my prawns in an avocado. Well, I wouldn't actually. I'd just have prawns. Was watching the line judges get hit really hard by like an ace. Did you like that? That's one of the few perks, I think, of tennis, is watching the line judges get hit by tennis. Anyway, sorry. So which will be the only Grand Slam to still use humans for line calling? Will it be A, the Australian Open, B, the French Open, or C, the US Open? Is it A, the Australian Open, B, the French Open, or C, the US Open? It's not going well for anyone, is it? I've got 4 out. Oh no, I've got 3 right. The answer is B, the French Open. Of course it would be. If anyone's going to be exceptional, or the exception, is France. Question 6. A British woman who spent decades wondering why an application for a dream job never succeeded finally received an answer after 48 years. For which job had T.Z. Hodson applied? Was it A, aerobatic pilot, B, motorcycle stunt rider, or C, snake handler? A British woman who spent decades wondering why an application for a dream job never succeeded finally got an answer after 48 years. But for which job had she applied? Was it A, aerobic pilot, B, motorcycle stunt rider, or C, snake handler? That's the weirdest question, isn't it? Georgina Demetrio, you're right. It's motorcycle stunt rider. Going into the final furlong. Users of the BBC weather app and website were alarmed to see winds of thousands of miles per hour and temperatures of over 400 degrees centigrade forecast after the service suffered a data fault. I saw this. It was quite funny. Which British city was predicted to have the highest wind speed in this fake data corrupted BBC weather app notification? Was it A, Belfast, B, Cardiff, or C, Edinburgh? Was it A, Belfast, B, Cardiff, or C, Edinburgh? Users of the BBC weather app and website were alarmed to see winds of thousands of miles an hour and temperatures over 400 degrees centigrade forecast after the service suffered a data fault. Which British city was predicted to have the highest wind speed? Was it A, Belfast, B, Cardiff, or C, Edinburgh? Helen Askew is correct. It's C, Edinburgh. Well done, Helen. And there you have it, guys. Who got 7? Who got 6? Who got 5? Who got 4? You get the idea. Just know that if you got 7, you're great. And if you got 1, you're just like all the rest of us. Just very, very normal. So on that note, 2, nice one. Well done, good ship lollipop. That's not bad. It's not bad. It gets, sometimes it's so sort of esoteric, isn't it? It's just, 3, Faith. That's good. That's really good. Sorry. I made myself jump. 2. Literally 2. Haven't seen any more than 3. Siobhan Jordan, 3. Well done. Oh, no, Sazzy. Sazzy got 4. Sazzy got 4. All right, guys. Total thicko today, says Minky Moo. That's all right. Go into the weekend a total thicko and you'll come out of it feeling kind of enlightened, I think. Have a lovely day. I think you might have a DIY vlog landing later. Do you remember those? We did a couple and then nothing got done. Anyway, see you later, guys. Have a lovely day. Bye.